But thrilled to be here with Alice. Quickly, I'll just do some introductions. I'll let you also tell a little bit more about yourself, but hope everyone is enjoying Cannes. I have the privilege of leading our work in customer demand and innovation in our Center for Customer Insight, thinking through how do we take customer-centric strategies and drive growth. And Alice, I think you have a lot of, from our initial conversations, a lot of ideas of how you're bringing customer centricity into all that you do. And so you have nearly 2 decades of marketing experience, leadership roles at American Express and PayPal, certainly a wealth of knowledge and innovative strategies. But I wanted to let you maybe say a little bit about yourself on the more personal side too, make it a little more fun at 4 o'clock.
Sure. I live in Bryan, New York. I have 3 children, 8, 11, and almost 13. And I was saying to Lauren earlier that I love theme parties, and H&R Block is such a fun place to work because they are big theme. They're big into color themes, so they wear red for the cheeks all the time and green, as you can see, my sneakers for H&R Block, and it's just really fun to be part of such a great, passionate culture. So I'm excited to be here and talking to you.
Well, thank you. And I love the green as well. BCG's green too.
Thank you.
I'm excited, though, to learn from your experience and think about how the innovative marketing strategies that you've applied have really driven engagement and growth in quite a unique market like tax preparation. The other thing to know is that I was first an accountant, so I also know a little bit about taxes, so this will be fun.
Oh.
I won't ask any weird questions. But first, you obviously have extensive experience in marketing. Can you share a bit about your journey, what brought you to H&R Block and what the unique challenges you face are?
Sure. So I have 18 years in marketing at American Express, 11 years at Amex, and then I worked at Amazon Advertising and PayPal before H&R Block. And in my career, the 3 things that it's really been about is growth, impact, and people. And growth, because I wanted to be a novelist when I was 18 years old. I hadn't taken a math class since high school when I ended up going to business school, and I believe in always trying new things and doing things that I love. And so I just kept trying things until I found something that I loved, and I love financial services marketing, and H&R Block offers that, which is great. And then impact. I like to make a big impact. You would think maybe taxes are boring, but it's very rare that you have an opportunity to market to 150 million people every year in 105 days that have to take that action. And so it's actually really fun, and there's a huge opportunity to make a big impact. And then the third is around people. I'm a people-first leader. I've learned in my career to follow great people, to work with great people. Stephanie is an amazing partner from Ogilvy. And I'm just super grateful to work with an amazing team. And so I hold that to my heart and stick with it in everything that I do.
That's awesome. And certainly I agree. It's a very unique market. Not too many other markets can you say that there's such extreme seasonality. How do you think about that, and how does it impact what you do?
It's actually way more fun than I ever imagined. The pace and the energy of tax season is incredible. At first I thought, 105 days, it's only 105 days. When I started, I was daunted by it because I'd always run an always-on business. I've always had a business that I could test, learn, iterate. You think, what do? How do you test, learn, and iterate, right? But really, you put together, it's just like any other job I've had. You put together an amazing marketing strategy, you compile your recipe, you just put it to market in one very concentrated period and have to test, learn, and iterate really fast and optimize every day. And so it's actually been really fun and energizing to push my thinking in a different way, but then to also take all the skills and apply them in new and creative ways.
And that applies also when you think about the market and the creativity implied, because you have such in some ways, a concentrated market, but I also know many, many independent tax providers. But with 2 major players, how do you think about the way that you differentially approach marketing given the competitive landscape?
Yeah, it is competitive. It is a big market opportunity, and it is, 150 million people have to do it every year. So But H&R Block has been around for 70 years. In 2025, it'll be a 70-year-old brand. It's a founder-led company by Henry and Richard Block, and they've been doing taxes for that long. And we actually offer more ways to file than any other provider. We have 9,000 retail locations and 60,000 tax providers with on average 10 years of experience. And also just speaking to like the marketing opportunity, that is our competitive advantage. It's dynamic. We offer in-person and digital filing. And the challenge and the opportunity is to figure out how to do real omni-channel marketing, right? Between our large-scale media strategy and then the 60,000 humans that are talking to customers and engaging with them throughout the season. So it's a really dynamic and interesting challenge and advantage.
Is it different than what you expected going in?
It's more fun than I expected, actually. I think the biggest thing that hit me when I joined H&R Block was how human the brand is. When you have 60,000 people that are the face of your brand, the humanity of the brand and the role of people representing you is really powerful. And that was something that I came to appreciate their role in the, I took a job that's growth marketing and engagement. I don't lead those tax pros, but they are the front line in the face of our business. And so I have to think about the whole picture and engagement in a very holistic way. So I'd say that's the part that has become more and more important to me. I take it to heart. I think about it. And, we've been talking a lot about, you asked about our brand positioning, and our brand platform is it's better with Block. And then why is it better with Block? We are there to help hardworking Americans at one of the most challenging financial moments of their year, every year. And that's also a very human intent and effort. And so it's really about those people that we're trying to help. It's a very personal moment. Jill talks about how you don't tell as much to very many people in your life, but your doctor and your tax pro, you're telling, right? It's a very intimate relationship. And so that has been the thing that I think I came in and I said, I've done omni-channel marketing at American Express. I worked with field sales reps. I worked with customer service teams. It was amazing. I did digital marketing, right? But just thinking about the sensitivity and the personal nature of this and the relationship, the depth of the relationship between the tax pro and the person, and it made it very, very real to me. So I'm still learning.
It's funny you say that. I'm married to a doctor, and I hear plenty of interesting stories. So there are lots of things that people will say. And I also think probably about, what does my tax provider know about me that most other people probably don't, right? Or how we're thinking and what you're prioritizing for. But so I do a lot of work in customer insights and thinking about different sources of customer intelligence. So we recently did a study that said really only 38% of executives think they're using all of that customer data, despite increasing breadth and number of sources. You obviously then, with your front line, have quite a bit of information. I'm sure you do lots of research too. How do you integrate and build that into your customer-centric view?
Yeah, so I think the key word in everything you said is customer, right? And it's interesting, I've been talking a lot about data. It's a very hot topic in the market. But really, the intent of all data is to create amazing customer experiences. So no matter the challenges in the market or the data that I'm trying to gather, my goal is to use that data with intention. So do I need all the data to deliver the right message? Depends on what that message is and what I'm trying to accomplish with the customer. So that's one sort of piece of it. And then with a mission of always helping, right? I want to help the customer and deliver value in every touch point. And then the other answer is we listen to them. I think the best and most important thing when you're looking at data is to mine it for what matters and to truly listen to what customers need and want, because that's when you're going to truly be able to respond and give them something of value. I spent a lot of time at American Express building our customer marketing engine many years ago, advocating to make shift investment actually from acquisition to customer. And it was really fun. And it was all about like, what is the data signal that you really need to know to deliver a hyper relevant message in that moment? Marketing with memory is so important, remembering what they told us in the beginning so I don't have to ask it again, right? They actually give you a lot of data, but do you remember it? And so there's, I just think there's a lot of, thoughtfulness in how you use data and how much you really need. And the front line, we listen to the textbooks, of course, and we have a lot of surveys and a lot of listening posts that we tap into.
And I imagine you use that to effectively segment your customers or to understand the differences and their different journeys and their different needs, particularly when you're thinking about, as you said, there's the Americans who this is, a really big moment for them, and each dollar of their return or refund might matter a lot. There's probably others who are willing to pay for more service, maybe a little less worried. How do you think about using all of that to help you better serve each individual consumer?
Yeah, well, first, we deeply understand what matters to customers when it comes to their tax return. Protection, having your back is super important. 75% of Americans, it's the biggest financial moment of the year, and they actually get a refund. So making sure that you're getting the max refund is incredibly important, right? Not everybody actually guarantees that they'll help you if the IRS comes after you, right? And H&R Block will have your back. And so just knowing, I think, first and foremost, our competitive advantage and like what our value story is in the market is so important. And then tailoring the message, of course, and experience based on who the customer is. We did some really interesting things this year. We did research. We tailored our messages based on what we understood different customers' needs to be. I don't know if you saw in the market the groceries ad, but it involved our tax Scott Max Refund, who we had in our ads as the tax champion, right? He is the emblematic visual, and but he, that coming out with that character and Max mascot, Tax Scott, was a big deal because it took all the things that we stand for and put them into a character that was very visual and very memorable, and really helped our brand awareness and affinity, especially with younger audiences that we're trying to reach and resonate.
And you mentioned, at American Express, you shifted some of the media strategy and you shifted where some of the dollars were spent more towards, it sounds like, retention versus acquisition. Mm-hmm. And have you seen signals like that here that are telling you how much of that needs to be differentiated by segment and where you ultimately think about the influence comes? It's obviously a much more intentionally repeated business.
Yeah, but engagement really matters, right? It's you can acquire a customer. It's very expensive to acquire a customer, right? It's less expensive to retain them, but it's really not about cost. It's about you have a chance when you acquire a customer to build a relationship with that customer, right? It's on you to make it worth it. Like, they've given you a chance, right? We used to talk about it. We used to talk about the first year as you were dating, right? We're dating. We need to cement this relationship. I had to justify a fee. This is the same. Like, you have a chance every year to switch, right? And it's expensive. Every year, it could be, you could be choosing to pay a fee because you want the services. And so you have to earn that every year. Like, it's not a given. And I think that we seek to treat our customers in really great ways. And we're investing in customer experience. We're investing in customer data. I'm really excited to have customer marketing and to look at, to build, the ROI model in a way that looks at acquisition alongside customer channels and create an apples to apples value of each touch point. Everything in marketing is quantity and quality when it comes down to measuring on your P&L. And so I look at, like, what is my potential opportunity? How am I going to reach them? How many can I reach, and at what value? And what is that moment? How do I make that the most valuable moment to them, and use that moment to generate a great experience for them that also generates a return for the company? And then I have a philosophy called momentum-based marketing, which is that every interaction should lead to another interaction. Like, you shouldn't ever just say goodbye. You should, if you do your job really well as a marketer, you're constantly nurturing a relationship and making them, you're in a conversation. That's why I love financial services marketing, because you have the permission to be in a relationship with the customer.
How do you then think about testing, both in a constrained timeline, but also because you know these customers so well? Can you then test outside of the normal cycle, or, you know, the typical test and learn you'd have to wait an entire year for? It's interesting.
Well, yes, we have 105 days to win the customer, you know, but you think that that's short? You think that because you're used to a year. But it's really a long, like, it's 105 days. It's what it is, right? And so you have to have extreme performance marketing rigor. So I remember when I started, I was nervous about tax season. I was intimidated by it. I said, my coming in, Jill hired me for my performance marketing background and skills, and wanted me to, you know, help work with the team to build that muscle. And so I remember thinking, okay, we're going to be like, I'm in a boat and I'm in choppy water, and I have to make sure that we're one of the best skills I'm bringing to the table before I have experience here is knowing how to drive performance and how to be really nimble in season. And I'm really proud of, we have a partnership with Gail, and I feel like you're monitoring the data hourly, Lauren, and that's real. Like, we were looking at search demand on an hourly basis. So it's just very intense, but you still can test a lot and iterate and drive performance both in season, but also you reflect on that 105 days, you gather all the learnings you can, and then you plan and try to come up with the best recipe and the most winning strategy that you then, yes, with like shock, and you launch it, you know, at scale in a very short time period.
And how are you leveraging generative AI as you're thinking about that? Because I can imagine you can test with consumers, with synthetic consumers, like Max, right? You can also think about many different ways that you can accelerate learning through that, and you all are doing a lot.
Yeah, a couple ways. So one, we actually launched, so there are two angles I'll talk about: customer experience and customer value, and also marketing. You know, AI is so interesting because you can use it for product experience, you can use it for organizational efficiency, you can use it for marketing effectiveness and creative impact. Those are like some of the ways that we bucket it and think about it. One of the things I was really proud to be a part of was at H&R Block. They launched an AI tax assist feature in the online experience, and talk about using AI to help customers. It allowed our online filers that were paid to have the ability to get help as they walked through the tax journey, which is a really hard, confusing. You know, you're trying to compile your information, you're trying to figure out, and we added it to the online journey to really help nurture customers through that journey. And it was very effective and resonated. It also helped us resonate with audiences like Gen Z.
That's awesome. And I imagine in those other buckets, there are things you're exploring as well. I know we've certainly seen lots of people and lots of conversations about content generation, cost, but effectiveness, right? How do you redeploy that?
The marketing strategies that we've deployed are, one, we've partnered a lot with Google, and we've had a great success working with them to actually expand our reach and look at different tools to help us. You know, you create a seed audience, and then the tool helps you expand your reach to more hyper-relevant audiences that you believe the product will resonate with faster. So we were able to expand reach. We also were able to drive conversion, as you're saying, through a lot of different creative. Creative, I think, is a big place that AI is playing a role. So we were able to, look at all the toolkit, the marketing toolkit, the creative image, lifestyle imagery, versus social proof, right? And we have all of our legally approved proof points, but we don't know what the combination that's going to resonate most with the customer is. And so we were able to very rapidly tap into creative iteration and mixing and matching of those aesthetic, traits, and then be able to optimize at a more personalized level using AI. We also have Geo. I talked about our 9,000 offices, and location matters, especially for a large part of our in-person business. And so we use dynamic creative optimization to help us geo personalize. Like if you might see a message that said like your tax office is, the location of your tax office in the advertisement. So those are a couple of the other ways. The third is we actually used some AI search tactics that allowed us to put different bid values on words to see if we really had to pay what we had to pay. And we were able to do that. Normally you have a human doing it. We were able to use AI actually to help us do that in an expedited fashion to help us maximize our search impact.
That's awesome. And then, of course, allows you to then, in your hourly monitoring, make some pretty quick adjustments.
Yes. But, what's interesting about that is that even like AI, we talk about it, it has to be managed by humans, right? And that's a really interesting conversation, right? Topic.
Yes.
Because while AI is valuable, you still need people to know how to maximize the impact of it, to use it. It doesn't just do everything for you. You need to be smart and strategic and thoughtful about what you're doing and how you're doing it. And
it's all about the guardrails you put in and what you manage.
Yeah. I'm going to take an opportunity to quote one of my most favorite moments this week has been seeing Kara Swisher speak, and I saw her and Scott Galloway record Pivot, their podcast, and then she spoke at a WPP stream event, which was awesome. And she talked about technology and things like AI, and she made a really powerful comment, which was, you can build the ships, but when you build the ships, you also build the shipwreck. And that it's your job to think about the lighthouse also. And I think that's what we need to think about with AI. It's very inspiring. Like, we need to be careful, like, about how we're using it and the impact it can have, both for good and for bad, and make sure we're using AI for good.
It's a good quote and definitely thought-provoking. Well, I was going to ask you what one of your favorite moments was, but I suppose or is there anything else you'd like to reflect on from this week?
Super high moment. I think also I got to hear Jay Shetty speak a little bit at a lunch yesterday and talk about the importance of vulnerability in leadership, and not just vulnerability, but that very senior leaders need to make themselves vulnerable, because it creates a safe space for people to know that it's okay to fail, and that failure, we were just talking about having kids and how important it is to be resilient, and that you have to fall in order to know how to get back up again well. And so it was really powerful to hear him talk about the importance of vulnerability with such a powerful group of people that it resonated with.
I love that. And I love, you also talk about being a very present mom and how you think about your three kids and bringing them into everything that you do and showing them your life too. So I imagine modeling that vulnerability is both good for business and parenting.
All the time. I was telling Lauren that I don't have a lot of hobbies, but I spend multiple hours a night with my kids. Each one of them, I spend probably 30 minutes at night cuddling up in bed with them and talking to them, because they're at an age that they will listen to me. And I feel like I have this opportunity to be with them while they want to be with me. And so that's what I do. I spend a lot of time with them. And I try to impart the importance of resilience and being okay with being afraid sometimes.
It's good. My son is in camp this week, hopefully embodying some of that resilience and learning some new things. But I get to, after this, Skype and hear how the big things went.
Yeah. Good for you.
Well, I think we're probably close to the end of our time, but maybe is there anything you'd like to share that might be inspiring to this audience about kind of your vision or other things? There's so many different things we touched on.
I can talk about, I'll share my last thoughts about marketing. I think the marketing, I was saying to you, when you're marketing in a tax season, you have to anticipate the market. Because you market for 105 days, and yes, we nurture our relationships, Lauren, as you were saying, throughout the season also, but you have to get ready for the next season where you're going to go to market at scale. And so I'm anticipating the market and knowing what's going to happen, and then being there ahead of the curve is so important, and it's hard, but I do I share that with you because I've adopted as an extreme best practice now, but I'm like, it's probably a good best practice in general. I ask my partners what's coming. I just ask them. I say, what's coming? How is Google going to be different because of AI next year? Like, what do I need to get ready for? Don't change it on me, right? And so I think just anticipating the market. I look at consumer behavior trends, which are changing rapidly. I do believe this year is going to be a step functionally different year in the market because of AI, because I just think the market's moving fast. Here, if you just listen, our partners are coming out with incredible innovations, and you have to be aware of them. And so that being at places like Cannes, external connection, I do that more now than I ever did before, and I wish I did it more earlier in my career. And so I would encourage being externally connected and take the time to listen to the podcast and to go to the event. And then I think what's so interesting about the market right now is that I worked at Amazon Advertising 5 years ago, and we were talking all about data and programmatic and how data, everything is powered by data. But now, I think the market's changing, and it's both data and content that matter a lot. And so when we think about personalization in our customers, we're building branded content. Like, Gen Z doesn't necessarily want an ad. So you have to think differently about how you actually communicate and build content that will resonate with customers, not just your personalization strategy. So that's my final thought.
Well, thank you.
We've got a couple minutes for questions if there's any questions.
Thank you. Alice and Lauren, I heard a lot that you're focused on the performance part and the lower funnel. My question to you is, like, what you do in the upper funnel for the brand, what are the initiatives, and like how you see the balance between those two, because recently the Nielsen report stated that 70% of the marketers are focused more on performance rather than brand.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm glad you asked, because we really run a full funnel campaign. One of the things I actually looked at when I started was dollar mix of TV and CTV, the middle of the funnel, which you could categorize as online video, let's say, and then the bottom, and really thought about mix shift and where the dollars were spent. So we do activate a full funnel campaign. I also think a lot about diversification of spend. We tested into gaming this year. Consumers are spending time in more places. So you can't just rely on perhaps CTV. I think people are watching TV while they're on their phones. My kids watch YouTube Shorts all the time. The notion of shorts and short content is big, and I think creators are now playing a really big role in influencing customer engagement. And so we do think about all of that. We just plan a very dynamic and diverse strategy and go to market.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Great.
I've got a question. So you talked about momentum-based marketing, right? I think that's great. I think that's brilliant. what do you see in looking at the macro? Like, what is the impediment to continuing that momentum for most brands? And if you could impart some wisdom based on this philosophy or methodology, like, what have you cracked there that allows you guys to keep that relationship going?
Customer momentum-based marketing for me was really started with customer marketing when I was leading early tenure customer engagement and retention at Amex. Actually, I remember I believe in being the customer. So I went through the customer experience. I got a lot of different credit cards. I also tried a lot of different versions of our tax product. And it's just, the point is, like, you never want your customer to feel alone. So I remember I was, trying to go through a credit card process. I was thinking where I could be intercepting the customer and helping them all along this journey and creating a value-add moment for them. And so it just became like, I talked just very tactically. If the second you get your card, you should be able to get your instant card number so that you can then activate online. And the second that you're activating online, I could give you a tip if I know that you're a small business owner with a construction company about best practices for how to use your card. And so it's like, think about that journey and follow the journey through. And then every time you do something, make it better, right? And if you do that, that's best-in-class customer marketing and momentum-based marketing to me. And then you don't leave.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Any final questions? Last session of the day. So if you got questions, now's the time to ask them. No? Well, Alice, Lauren, thank you so much for ending us on a really strong note.